Hi Rita, I'm looking at your project and I'm doing a video for you because there are some things I want to point out to you that are going to be a lot easier on the screen than just by a list. Okay, so we're going to start with these red lines here. You don't need these, okay? Just needs to go away. Okay, so we're going to get rid of that red line. Erase. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to do this elevation by elevation. So I'm going to zoom in around here. One of the first things I noticed is that when I highlight lines like these, they're all hidden line weight. The color is by layer, the layer is this, and the line type is hidden. Now then, and that's true for a lot of these, see? And the reason for that is if you look in this properties thing, all of these should say by layer. Okay, you want all of the properties to be by layer. And the reason you want that is because you've got all of the properties already set up over here in your layer box. Hello, where's my layer box? There we go. Okay, all of the properties are already set up here in your layer box. So you don't need to have properties for lines other than the ones that are already in your layer box. So just like we did with the, once again, you need to go back and you need to do a select all, which you do just like you do in any Windows program, as Control A. And just go ahead and make all of these things by layer, okay? And that'll make things a lot better. Okay, so now things will show up the way they're supposed to show up across the board. Having done that, let's look at each individual elevation. On these doors, on this medicine cabinet, if they swing like these do down here, then we need to put lines in for those. So I'm going to set this object current using the set objects layer current. Okay, and now whatever I draw will have the properties of that layer, which is what I want. So I'm going to draw a line from there to the midpoint and then down. And I'm going to repeat that motion for each of these doors. And you can think about how they would be. So you know that like this one would probably swing like this and then this one would swing the other way, but however you think they're going to work. Okay, now just like I drew this one going to the midpoint here, these need to come to the midpoint of the door too, okay? And the easiest way to fix that at this juncture is to grab them. I'm going to close this little box. Is to grab them like so. Okay, make sure you have the object snap tracking on. Where is it? Object snap tracking is right here. Make sure that one's turned on. And then you're going to grab hold of this little thing here. And you're going to go find the midpoint of this line. And then you're going to drag it over. And doesn't it look a lot better? I think that looks a lot better. Okay, the other thing on this piece of this elevation is that your faucet is on layer 0. It needs to be on a different layer. And the primary reason for that is because it's going to read way too dark on this layer. So I would make it either, well, no, not that layer. That's on the hidden layer, which it shouldn't be. This should be on the pattern layer. Okay, it is, good. Okay, so I would either put these on the pattern layer or I would put them back on the plumbing fixture layer. And the same goes for the toilet. I'd put it probably on the plumbing fixture layer too. Once again, you've exploded the block, and I don't know exactly why you've done that, but it just makes it harder for you to get that stuff done. From a design point of view, usually when we do a tile in a bathroom like this, we'll go ahead and carry the wainscot from here all the way over. Sometimes we'll make it a little higher, sometimes we'll make it 5 feet, but we usually will go ahead and carry it across just because it makes it look more unified. Okay, you also need to go ahead and make this line, this piece of this line that defines the cabinet right here, that needs to be a white line, and that needs to be a white line going all the way down. And the reason for that is that that cabinet is, 2 feet in front of the wall behind it, and so you're trying to make us see that plane, the change in plane, the depth by your line weights, and the white line is a darker line than the gray one, and so that's what we want. On our next elevation, let's pan over and look at it. Okay. The same thing goes for tile wainscots at the kitchen. Usually we don't take those all the way up to the top of the cabinet. I mean, I've seen it, you can. Usually they just go to the bottom of the cabinets. That's a design decision I'm going to leave to you, but I want you to look at pictures and things and think about how it's usually done and why it's usually done that way. Okay, now then, from there, you need to make sure you show the profiles of these base cabinets at the countertop. You've done that with the top here. You need to do it with the countertop down here. Okay, and just like you've gone and shown how this steps back here in profile, you need to do the same thing over here. Okay, so just apply that same thinking on both sides. Once again, you need to get this maybe on a little lighter weight layer. You need to look at, should I put that on a blue line weight? What should I do with it? We'll get more into that when we print, but you'll see when we start printing that some of these heavier line weights on very detailed objects just come out very, very muddy. And we don't want that. We want them to read crisp and clear and very detailed. Going across here, this cabinet top, the sink is behind the panel. You know how sinks have that front panel above the doors? Well, that's where this is. So this countertop needs to go all the way across here. The only time that it doesn't is if you've got one of those fancy farm sinks. Otherwise, it's going to go all the way across. Likewise, this drawer stack is going to have a kick under it, just like the other cabinets. And if you look at your cabinets in your kitchen, you'll see that you don't usually see that line for that cabinet go below the kick. So we're just going to trim that puppy off. And I'm typing my commands if the computer will let me. Apparently I'm moving too fast for the computer this morning too. Okay, so we're just going to trim that off. Ta-da! Okay. And we're going to do the same thing with these doors, moving this line up to the midpoint of this door. Where is the midpoint of that door? I want the mid. Yeah, there we go. Ah, undo. Okay, so I'm going to grab this. I'm going to find my midpoint over here. Come on. That midpoint seems a lot lower than it should be. I wonder why. Let's look. Aha, I've got two lines. We're going to get rid of that one. And then we're going to just extend this one down. We don't want to have overlapping lines in our drawing. That makes more objects for the computer to figure out how to print, and it makes it harder. And it makes our drawings bigger, which makes it more difficult. This is the same issue we ran into with SketchUp. We want our drawings to be as small as possible for the information that we put into them, because otherwise it's a headache to print. And it's a headache to store them, I mean, honestly. Okay, so midpoint. And now I'm going to drag this over. There we go. That's better. Is that better? No, it's still the same. What's going on here? Okay, so what I'm showing you here how to do a little bit of exploratory work figuring out what's wrong. Okay, so I'm going to remove, there's 10 lines there. I'm going to remove this one and this one. Don't feel bad about this, okay? This happens to every beginning draftsman, but you have to figure it out, and I know that you will. It's just every time you find lines that overlay each other, fix it, okay? It's that simple. And having that experience to start with makes it a lot easier. So grab this, go back over here to your midpoint, and then drag it back over. It really should be more than that. Well, that's a lot. That looks better. Yeah, that's how that should look. Okay, so that's that list. And the list over here is very, very similar. Okay, so you've got this, you tried to show the top countertop, but it's actually on the other side of the door. Look at your own cabinets and look how they're built, and you'll see that's the way. Okay, the countertop extends past the door face. And erase the one that I used before. So I just did erase previous, typed P, and I get rid of the one that I'd chosen before. Okay. I think that's it. Really, these look pretty good. Go back and make sure you've got all your kicks in, like here. Get the profiles in for your cabinets, and that will be much improved. Good job, though. Thanks so much.